could we soon be living in a world without a Spider-Man? And just a reminder, these videos are made possible by my supporters on this platform, so if you do want to support me, be sure to hit that big, beautiful subscribe button. And be sure to check out the Patreon link in the description below. Steve Ditko is a name every Spider-Man, or heck, even comic book superhero fan should know. He was one of the most talented and inspirational people working in the comic book industry, and was in many ways responsible for the characters of Spider-Man and Doctor Strange, as he was their co-creator alongside Stan Lee. Steve Ditko passed away in 2018, and now heir to the Ditko estate, brother of Steve Ditko, Patrick Ditko, is filing a lawsuit for the termination of the copyright to Spider-Man and Doctor Strange, meaning that these characters would no longer be the property of Marvel Comics, but instead the sole property of the Ditko estate. So this has been doing the rounds in the media recently, with a lot of scaremongering in the headlines, and a lot of people are wondering, what does this mean for Spider-Man, and what does this mean for Doctor Strange? This would affect these characters across the entire board, across every medium. So it wouldn't just be like Spider-Man film rights, or comic rights, or game rights, or anything of that matter. It would be the entirety of the existence of Spider-Man and Doctor Strange. Now, I've got no knowledge of law, so take everything I say with a little pinch of salt. I don't know what this would mean for Sony Pictures holding the film rights to Spider-Man either. I get the feeling that since they were on lease from Marvel, and if Marvel no longer owned that character, then I guess it would default and it would just all be down to the Ditko estate. Now, in response, Disney have filed a countersuit to retain the copyright to these characters. But let's look at the outcome here. If the Ditko estate owns Spider-Man and Doctor Strange fully, what does that mean for the future of these characters? I think a lot of people are afraid that it will mean no more comic books, no more video games, no more movies, that this would be a world without Spider-Man and Doctor Strange. But I'm going to say this, that is hugely unlikely. The only circumstance in which that could happen would be if Patrick Ditko hated Spider-Man and Doctor Strange and no longer wanted them in circulation whatsoever, if Disney were not willing to put up any kind of fight or any kind of offer, and if Patrick Ditko just completely despises money. And this would be a heck of a lot of legwork, as well as a lot of potential expenses, as well as looking at the likelihood of actually winning a lawsuit against Disney. And this isn't the first time something of this nature has happened, as the heirs to Jerry Siegel and Joel Shuster's estates also tried to claim back the copyright to Superman, dating back as recently as 2013, and it didn't work for them. So no, the realistic outcome here is that if the Ditko estate wins the copyrights for Spider-Man and Doctor Strange, it means that Disney and Marvel would have to lease the rights to those characters from the Ditko estate. They would need to get clearance from them before working on any project, and they would have to get paid a share of the profits. And to be honest, that's how it should be. I love these characters, and I want to keep seeing them in comics, and I want to keep seeing them in movies, and I want to keep seeing them in video games, and all that jazz. But I also want to see justice done to the people who bought us those characters. There are people saying that the Ditko estate are just being greedy, and I can't fathom that. I cannot fathom that even in the slightest. As far as we know, Steve Ditko was not the wealthiest man in the world, and I don't imagine his brother is either. I mean, of course, I could be wrong on that, but oftentimes comic book artists and creators in the silver golden age of Marvel Comics weren't paid all that much. They're not the multi-billionaires you'd expect them to be, having held such stake in such household name characters today. Disney, on the other hand, well, that just completely goes without saying, but I think if one of your relatives had created something that is producing billions of dollars in revenue from toy sales and movie sales and comic books and all that jazz, you'd want a little share of that, Like, I think, Steve Ditko, while he was around, should have gotten a lot more recognition for the creation of Spider-Man and Doctor Strange than he ever got. The fact that there are fans out there of characters like Spider-Man and Doctor Strange that think Stan Lee was the only creator of those characters just goes to show that comic book artists back in those times and creators didn't really get their dues. So like I say, unless the Ditko estate is just full of mustache-twirling villains that don't want money, they just don't want Spider-Man and Doctor Strange out there, the outcome's not really going to be any different for you. The only difference is going to be that Disney are going to have to pay them like a percentage of the profits, or they're just going to have to make an agreement with them before use of the characters, which I just think is perfectly fair. Now the question is, how likely is the Ditko estate to win? As I say, not a law student, I don't know much about law, but I would imagine contractually Steve Ditko would have created Spider-Man and Doctor Strange for Marvel Comics Publishing, and that there would have been contracts to say that no, the character is the property of Marvel and not, Steve Ditko. But I don't know. I wasn't there, and there can still always be loopholes. I'm sure, some legal expert could figure this out. I can't. I wouldn't know. So, in this whole matter, who should you root for? To be honest, it's none of our business. It's a legal matter between a giant company and one of Marvel's former creators, or at least the heir to his estate. Personally, I think it's only right that Steve Ditko's estate gets some say in what happens with a character that Steve Ditko co-created. The point is, I can't see any reality where there's any world without a Spider-Man. Spider-Man's not going to suddenly vanish off the face of the earth. He's not going to suddenly appear in DC Comics or something like that. I highly doubt he'll ever go public domain either. Disney are going to fight for this, like, tooth and nail. And, either way, if the Ditkos win, you'll still see Spider-Man in movies. There will be arrangements made, deals made. It's just that it has to go past the Ditko estate first, and to be honest, that's just not really a big deal. As I say, they'd have to hate their characters and hate money in order not to make some deals with Disney, so it's still all gonna go ahead. We can relax about it. Everything is going to be okay. The absolute worst case scenario, and it's super, super, super unlikely, as in, the chances of this happening are just, it's not gonna happen, is imagine Spider-Man goes public domain. Then anyone can make their own official Spider-Man media without having to worry about copyright. Now, that would actually be kind of awesome. We wouldn't be getting big budget Spider-Man products, but, to see, fans just really getting creative. I mean, it's already happening right now, There's a wealth of Spider-Man fan films, Spider-Man fan comics and stuff like that. It'd be cool to see. But, in the meantime, I look forward to what comes next from the whole Disney-Sony arrangement. So, yeah, there you have it. It could also be another means of getting the rights to Spider-Man away from Sony Pictures altogether. But personally, I think the shared ownership deal is the best thing they've got, because that way we still keep getting great movies like Into the Spider-Verse while getting the MCU Spider-Man, and there's room enough in this world for more than one Spider-Man. So, there you have it, true believer. So what do you guys think? If you enjoyed this video and you want to support more like it, be sure to hit that big, beautiful subscribe button. And of course, in the description below are links to different social media feeds, including the Patreon. If you're feeling extra generous, like the following people, who are David 20 Covers, JK Strife, Marcus Ward, Sirius the Skeptic, Biotinarts, Mr. SP, Sergio, George is Lost, Legendary Ray Ray, Adam Myers, and Fayalan Schwarzentraub. Thank you guys, you are the best of the best, but as for the rest of you, thank you so much for watching, guys, and have a great day.